Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. Huo Yuhao smiled slightly and just nodded. Everyone has a chance. We will all fight with everything we have. I just hope that this tournament will not affect our friendship. In the end, we're still business partners, are we not? Wei Na's eyes lit up as she said, "That's what I wanted to say, as well. No matter how this tournament turns out, we will still be business partners. I'm looking forward to more cooperation with the Tang sect in the future." Definitely. Both parties kept walking out as they talked. Once they left the main door, Mu Shui, Wei Na, and the rest of the Snow Demon sect bid their farewells to the Tang sect before they took their leave. The other teams left as well. Bei said, "Let's head back as well. Let's have a meeting in my room." The Tang sect's members gathered in Bei's room. They hadn't moved to the second level, but the Tang sect's new room was a lot better than their old and decrepit one from before. Shu Sancha stretched out lazily on the sofa and said, "Why are we having a meeting, Bei? Today's lottery turned out pretty well. We should have a good rest and destroy the Holy Ghost sect when the time comes. We have to knock some sense into Xiao Ya, no matter what." Bei frowned and said, "Don't think it's all fine and dandy. We have to defeat the Snow Demon sect before we can fight the Holy Ghost sect." Shu Sancha was a little surprised. "Are you kidding me, Bei? Do we really have to open a meeting for our battle against the Heavenly Soul Empire's Snow Demon sect? I think they were lucky to be top in their group. On the other hand, I think the Heavenly Dragon sect is stronger than they are, and they will be the ones standing in the way of Shrek academies in their group." Bei grunted coldly and said, "It's not as easy as you think. Tell him, little junior brother. What problems are we going to face?" Huo Yuhao understood that his eldest senior brother wanted to test him. "We can't overlook one sect." Shu Sancha was momentarily stunned. "What sect?" Huo Yuhao answered, "The body sect." "The body sect? Haven't they been keeping their heads down this entire time?" Huo Yuhao said, "That's the point. They haven't revealed themselves yet, so we have to pay extra attention to them. According to reliable sources, the body sect is definitely participating in this tournament. However, they haven't shown any tracks yet." "What does this mean?" "This means that the body sect is hidden within another team, and they haven't shown their true colors yet. This team is quite strong, and what I can tell from the current situation, the body sect is likely to be embedded among one of quarterfinalists. Of the 8 quarterfinalists, the Shrek Academy, us, and the Holy Ghost sect can be excluded. These 3 teams simply cannot have any people from the body sect embedded inside them. Of the 5 remaining teams, the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy is also unlikely. After all, the body sect once ambushed the illustrious Virtue Hall, and they are on bad terms with the Sun Moon Empire. The Proud Sword sect, the Heavenly Dragon sect, the Snow Demon sect, and the Star Luo National Academy are suspects. If I'm not wrong, the body sect's people are definitely hidden within one of their reserve lineups." Bei nodded, satisfied at Yuhao's words. "He's right. Therefore, don't think that we are lucky for drawing the Snow Demon sect. There's a 25% chance that the Snow Demon sect has people from the body sect hidden inside their team. If they want to defeat us, then the body sect will definitely have to fight. Therefore, it's very probable that we will be up against a very formidable opponent in our next match." The corner of Shu Sanchi's mouth twitched. "We can't be that unlucky, can we? 1 in 4. Will we actually meet them? However, it seems like the Shrek Academy's lot is pretty good. They're up against the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy. That means they don't even have a 1 in 4 chance of going up against the body sect." Bei continued, "No matter which team the body sect is hidden in, every single team in the quarterfinals is quite strong. It's likely that the body sect will show themselves in the quarterfinals. We cannot rest our hopes on luck, and that means we have to be careful with what we decide to do." Xiao Xiao heaved a faint sigh and said, "It would be fantastic if the body sect is hidden inside the Star Luo National Academy." A smile appeared on everyone's faces when she said this. Wasn't that right? The Star Luo National Academy was going up against the Holy Ghost Church. The body sect against the Holy Ghost sect would be a spectacular battle. If they ended up dealing heavy losses to each other, that would be a perfect outcome for the Tang sect and Shrek Academy. Huo Yuhao sighed faintly and said, "Even though I wish that were true, I have to say that it's very unlikely. Why? Xiao Xiao asked curiously. Huo Yuhao answered, it's very simple. Have you guys not realized that the Star Luo Empire has been trying to reach out to Shrek Academy? They have always been trying to form an alliance, or some kind of camaraderie with us, and they've always been trying to get the Academy's help. Princess Jojo's urgency and her eagerness wasn't fake when she was purchasing the Zhuge Divine Crossbows. She requested a titled Doluo test the Zhuge Divine Crossbow as soon as possible. If we think from their perspective, if the Star Luo National Academy had a partner as formidable as the Body Sect, in addition to the fact that the Body Sect isn't on good terms with Shrek Academy, why would they be so eager to lean towards us? Everyone's heads bobbed up and down as they listened to his analysis. Bei said, little junior brother makes a lot of sense. Therefore, our chances of meeting them have become 1 in 3. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's discuss our battle strategies and tactics for the next round. There were fewer and fewer teams staying in the Brilliant Delight Hotel as the tournament progressed over time. Most of the teams who had been eliminated from the tournament had chosen to leave, as this place was considered a sad place for them now. Of course, some teams had wanted to stay so that they could continue watching the tournament. This was a great opportunity that they didn't want to miss. But the teams that had been eliminated were forced to move out of the Brilliant Delight Hotel. Therefore, the spacious and tremendous Brilliant Delight Hotel was only housing 8 teams at the moment. The entire hotel seemed empty and uninhabited. But this emptiness was filled with a stifled atmosphere. The next 3 rounds represented glory, wealth, and reputation, all at once, for every quarterfinalist. Shrek Academy undoubtedly felt the most pressure, because they were the previous season's champions, and much of their glory and reputation was at stake. Their opponents in the subsequent rounds were simply too powerful, but their draw was considered fortunate. At the very least, they were up against one of the weaker teams in the quarterfinals. But what about afterwards? Everything that was to come was hard to predict. The Holy Ghost Sect was the most mysterious team. Their team members rarely showed themselves in public other than in the arena during the tournament. The Tang Sect was no longer considered a dark horse. Their team members' identities had been investigated and publicized after their impressive showing. When everyone discovered that they were the Shrek Academy team that had clinched the championship last season, their label as a dark horse vanished into thin air. It was even more taxing for Huo Yuhao, because he had to prepare for the Radiant City Elite Soul Engineering Competition's grand finals on top of his official tournament. This tournament's timing was alternated from the Continental Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament. Therefore, the Radiant City Elite Soul Engineering Tournament's grand finals was fixed on the second day after the Continental Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament's semifinals. This also meant that the Underground Tournament's grand finals was 1 day away from the other one. It was the best way to attract more people to bet and wager. 9 people were participating in the Radiant City Elite Soul Engineering Tournament. Huo Yuhao had used his necromancy to defeat his opponent in the previous round, but he had no idea what the final round's rules were going to be. This was a Soul Engineer tournament, after all, and it was natural that the rules of the grand finals would be adjusted after he had set a precedent by using his martial soul to defeat his opponent. The other 2 underground organizations would also be very careful about such a thing. Therefore, Huo Yuhao had to design some of his own authentic soul tools, besides preparing for their quarterfinals, so that he could win something in the underground tournament. He had to claim this championship for the Tang Sect's development, and also because he wanted to go undercover in his enemy's camp. 2 days were given for the quarterfinalists to take a breather, and every team took this chance to rest up. The quarterfinals were finally here. Radiant City was bustling early in the morning, and dawn had yet to break when citizens thronged out of the city to claim a good spot to watch the tournament from. The quarterfinals would conclude today. There were 4 matches to be fought, and every match was one strong team against another. Nobody wanted to miss a single match for anything in the world. Every single citizen who was hurrying out of the city along the roads and streets was carrying dry rations and water. They were prepared to spend an entire day in and around the spectators' grandstands, and they were going together in groups. What was the benefit of going together with friends? The greatest one was that their seats wouldn't be taken by others if they wanted to head to the bathroom when the time came. The masses of toilets that had been set up outside the city specifically for the tournament since its beginning had actually amassed quite some fertilizer for the farms around the Radiant City, though the farmers had to be the only ones who were excited about that. According to the tournament's rules, the first group would fight it out in the morning, while the second group would have their chance in the afternoon. When the sun peeked out from the horizon, the teams that represented the strongest youths in the world walked out of the city as platoons of soldiers formed human walls to escort them. Not only were the first 4 teams that were fighting in the morning going to the arena, but the second group, the Holy Ghost sect, the Tang sect, the Snow Demon sect, and the Star Luo National Academy had all gotten up early in the morning, as well. There was no need to watch the other rounds during the round robins, and each team could just mind their own business. However, it was imperative for every team to understand their adversaries during the quarterfinals. At the same time, it was also better to head down to the arena so that they could get used to its atmosphere as early as possible. The quarterfinals would be the true showdown between powerhouses. After today, the quarterfinals would narrow down into the semifinals, and the 4 eliminated teams would be heading home. Huo Yuhao was still sitting silently in his wheelchair. The quarterfinalists didn't leave the Brilliant Delight Hotel at the same time, which was why they were the only team on the street at the moment. After careful analysis, it appeared that the most likely place the powerful members of the Body sect were hidden in was either the Heavenly Dragon sect, the Proud Sword sect, or the Snow Demon sect. Frankly speaking, no matter where the Body sect was hidden, they would pose a huge threat to the Tang sect and Shrek Academy. After they entered the top 8, they would surely face many challenges. When everyone from the Tang sect arrived at the arena, the team from Shrek Academy was already doing their warm-ups with their opponents from the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy. As they were in the first half, Shrek Academy would definitely go first. The 4 rounds today were all major. The sun was already in the sky, and the weather was decent. As bright sunlight illuminated the earth, everyone felt a sense of warmth. Radiant City had experienced cold temperatures in the past few days, so the sunlight today lifted everyone's spirits. Wang Chua stood quietly outside of the VIP resting zone as she looked down at the arena, which had already been fixed from the damage she had helped cause it yesterday. No one knew what she was thinking. Her powdery blue, wavy hair was bathed in sunlight, making it appear golden. At the same time, she was like a solitary plum tree in winter. She stood there in solitude, appearing out of place, and yet, she was the center of it all. When everyone entered the resting zone, Wang Donga, who was standing next to Huo Yuhao, walked over to Wang Chua. Huo Yuhao was stunned, but didn't stop her. He trusted her. While Donga had every intention of competing against Chua, she would not behave rashly, particularly after what had happened the last time. Wang Donga walked up next to Wang Chua. Likewise, sunlight poured onto her silky smooth hair. The reflected sunlight was even more intense, but at least it was not blurry like the light Wang Chua's hair reflected. Their faces looked exactly the same, even though there was a small age discrepancy. When the 2 girls stood there, they looked as if they were from a painting. Wang Chua sensed that Wang Donga coming up next to her, and turned to look at her. "Why are you here?" Wang Chua asked. Wang Donga smiled slightly and said, "Did I not say it that day? You are my sister. The competition's about to start, so I'm here to check on you." Wang Chua said coldly, "If you're here to show off, you can leave. You've won." Wang Donga was stunned, but soon understood what Wang Chua meant. She sighed and said, "Do you know, after the fight that day, he scolded me. It was the first time he lost his temper at me." Wang Chua frowned and said, "So why are you telling me this?" "He was definitely afraid that you would be hurt by me." Wang Donga shook her head slightly and said, "It's not only that. I can also feel that he admires you greatly. Furthermore, you've saved him so many times. Regardless of whether it's him or me, we're both grateful to you. If not for that fact that I can't compromise our feelings for him, I would very much like to be your sister. I respect you greatly. You can leave," Wang Chua said, as the expression on her face turned even colder. Wang Donga bowed her head and said, "I know that, regardless of what I say, you'll treat it as if I'm mocking you. However, all I can tell you is that I don't despise you. In fact, I kind of like your tenacity." With that, she finally turned toward where the other members of the Tang sect were resting. She took 2 steps out, stopped, then turned her head to look at Wang Chua and said, "Sis, you must win." When she heard the word sis, Wang Chua's heart, for some reason, trembled. Her toned, strong arms clenched tightly into fists, as she nodded in one vigorous motion. Wang Donga's red lips trembled as she returned to Huo Yuhao's side. "What did you tell her?" Huo Yuhao asked her curiously. Wang Donga said slightly coyly, "This is a matter between us women, so why are you asking?" Huo Yuhao looked helpless. Shu Sansha, who was sitting next to him, chuckled, Yuhao, you resemble me more and more. How does it feel to have such a strict wife? Huo Yuhao glared at him and said, third brother, at least I have a wife to take care of me. Is Sister Nan Nan really your wife? Shu Sanxia turned his head to look at Jiang Nan Nan, as he made kissing motions at her. Jiang Nan Nan pretended to not have seen it, but instead was trying to get the organizer of the tournament to prepare beverages for them, willingly oblivious to him. Shu Sanxia turned his head back and glared back at Huo Yuhao and said, Yuhao, you're learning all the wrong things. Now you know how to hit where it hurts. HMPH. Huo Yuhao chuckled bitterly. You started it, all right. The members of every team were all present, including those from the Holy Ghost sect. They were still as mysterious as ever, cloaked entirely in black robes. Tang Yue sat at the front, reflecting her important position in the sect. At the back of the team stood the woman whom Huo Yuhao thought was familiar. She appeared to be the teacher in charge. However, the Scorpion Tiger Doluo Zhongpeng was nowhere to be found. He was not with the Holy Ghost sect's team. The Snow Demon sect had arrived much earlier. Wei Na and Mu Shui sat at the front of the team, conversing in low tones, while the others were silent behind them. They all appeared extremely alert, and would occasionally glance in the direction of the Tang sect. There were far fewer participants in the waiting area than before. However, the atmosphere was still extremely tense, especially since every team would have to compete today. It felt like the very air could ignite at any moment. Up on the main podium, the Prince Regent Xu Qianran had arrived a long time ago. Zhu Zi sat next to him as she passed him a cup of fragrant tea. Xu Qianran drank from the cup, looked at the Hallmaster of the illustrious Virtue Hall and asked, Hallmaster Hongchen, how are your grandson and granddaughter doing? Jing Hongchen replied quietly, thank you for your concern, Your Highness. Thanks to the Imperial physicians you sent, their conditions have stabilized. However, as their injuries are not light, they will need at least a year to make a full recovery. Xu Qianran sighed softly and said, as long as there are no after effects, it's fine. They are both pillars of the Empire. Help me tell Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen that this defeat does not mean anything. After all, defeat is the mother of success. As they now have the painful experience of a defeat, this will help them walk on more proper paths in the future. Tell them it's from me personally. I believe that one day they'll be able to beat the group from Shrek Academy. Thank you, Your Highness. Jing Hongchen appeared drained after these 2 days. The defeat of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy team had placed a great deal of pressure on him. Many other officials had raised complaints against him. It was a major humiliation to the Empire for them to be unable to even make it past the qualifiers. Furthermore, both Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen were severely injured. If not for the fact that Xu Qianran had sent the only healing-type titled Doluo of the Sun Moon Empire to attend to them, Xiao Hongchen's wounds might have been fatal, and Meng Hongchen could have been permanently crippled. Only with Xu Qianran's strong support was Jing Hongchen able to preserve his position. However, he understood that there was no free lunch in this world. After this incident, he was firmly in the orbit of the Crown Prince. He now had no choice but to serve him loyally in the future. He understood how powerful Xu Qianran was, and was clear on the Crown Prince's ambition. While he still had doubts in his heart, he now had no choice but to believe firmly in him. Hallmaster Hongchen, do you think the Radiant Academy can beat Shrek? The first competition was about to start, and Xu Qianran was naturally in high spirits. He was particularly enthused by the prospects of witnessing such intense fights. Jing Hongchen said, well, I don't think we should overemphasize our enemy's power and undermine ourselves. I have to say that Radiant Academy is not as good as the Imperial Academy. While the team from Shrek isn't particularly powerful, Wang Chioa is too difficult to defeat. We all saw what happened that day. Wang Chioa used all her might at the very end, which was close to the power of an 8-ringed Soul Doluo. If not, there was no way she could have defeated my grandson and granddaughter. With such a captain, the team from Shrek Academy has a very good chance. Xu Qianran nodded, sighed, and acknowledged, we really can't underestimate the 10,000-year foundations of Shrek Academy. The mysterious Imperial tutor, who sat next to him suddenly said, no matter how long they've been established, they also need talents. I think that the teams from Shrek Academy and the Tang sect contain all their talents for this generation. Xu Qianran's eyes flashed as he smiled and said, Imperial tutor is right. Zhu Zi, who sat next to Xu Qianran, said nothing. The trace of a smile could be seen on her face. She looked down at the arena, and in the depths of her eyes, one could see a hint of worry. Xingzhong, the unbreakable Doluo, was the referee. Ever since he had joined the competition, injury rates had plummeted. He refereed all the important rounds, such as today, the first round for the top 8, Shrek Academy versus the Radiant City Seoul Engineering Academy. May the teammates from both teams enter the waiting zone. The first competitor for the individual elimination round from both teams, please come into the arena. On Shrek's side was 7 people. Their combination was exactly the same as the one they had used to face off against the Sun Moon Imperial Seoul Engineering Academy. They were Wang Qiu'er, Dai Huabing, Zhu Lu, Ning Tian, Cao Jinxian, and the Lan sisters. This was their standard team. In the previous round against the Sun Moon Imperial Seoul Engineering Academy, they had not worked together flawlessly. This was because after Wang Qiu'er was struck by the aging ray, Dai Huabing and Zhu Lu unleashed their power too early, causing them to almost lose control of the competition. For this, Wang Qiu'er scolded them harshly when they returned. However, Wang Qiu'er understood clearly that if not for Huo Yuhao's fusion, while the aging ray might not actually make her age, there was no way she could have beaten Meng Hongchen and Xiao Hongchen due to the massive depletion of her soul power at that time. However, this made her even more unhappy. She did not want to show weakness in front of Huo Yuhao. When she entered the waiting zone, Wang Qiu'er jumped onto the arena without even sitting down. The team from the Radiant City Seoul Engineering Academy had unpleasant looks on their faces. No one wanted to fight this immensely powerful golden dragon girl. Her golden dragon spear could attack both near and far, and was almost impossible to resist. Many people believed that she was the most powerful competitor in the entire tournament, particularly after she defeated the Hongchen siblings. Who would dare to fight her? However, this was the individual elimination round, and they had to send someone to face her, since she had already stepped up. A youth leapt out from the Radiant City Seoul Engineering Academy team's side and landed in the arena. The youth was handsome and his body well-defined. He looked like a piece of jade, and his eyes brimmed with confidence. He strode confidently to the center of the arena, where Wang Qiu'er was waiting. State your names. Shrek, Wang Qiu'er, she said in her characteristically straightforward manner. Radiant City Seoul Engineering Academy, Lu Jun. Hello, Golden Dragon Girl, it's a pleasure to go up against you. Please show mercy. Lu Jun spoke to Wang Qiu'er in a gentlemanly manner, but she did not wait for him to finish before she turned her back to walk to the periphery of the arena, completely ignoring this handsome young man. Lu Jun's mouth twitched. She doesn't give me face at all. What a personality. I like it. Wang Qiu'er's strong showing, coupled with her beautiful face, attracted many people. All those who thought they had a chance, be it soul masters or soul engineers, tried to ask her out, including Lu Jun. Xingzhong, the unbreakable Doluo, looked at him coldly and said, "Young man, don't expect her to show you mercy just because you're handsome. She has a fiery temper, and all she cares about is winning. Be careful." Lu Jun nodded his head and said humbly, "Thank you for your advice, senior. I'll be careful." His careful attitude left a good impression on the unbreakable Doluo. He had heard that there were some exceptional participants from the Radiant City Seoul Engineering Academy. Lu Jun should be one of them. Today, he would be able to assess the young man's performance throughout this competition. If possible, he would not mind taking in a disciple. Lu Jun reached the edge of the arena after Wang Qiu'er. They looked across at one another. At this moment, Lu Jun was no longer smiling, and a severe expression settled on his face as he looked at Wang Qiu'er. Who dared to be careless in front of the Golden Dragon Girl? Flirting was flirting. His team was already in the top 8, and Lu Jun was undoubtedly a core member of his team. He dared not be careless. "Prepare yourselves," said the unbreakable Doluo as he looked at both sides. "Begin." Wang Qiu'er sprang into action. Her left foot stomped down on the ground, and her body flew toward Lu Jun, who was more than 100 meters away, like an arrow. Everyone had witnessed how explosive she could be. In the blink of an eye, she covered the entire distance. When Lu Jun heard Xingzhong say to prepare, he had already squatted down. When the referee announced the start of the round, he leapt into the air like a bolt of lightning. Behind him, a pair of wings from a flying-type soul tool expanded instantly, and 4 rays of light shot out, propelling him into the sky. The unbreakable Doluo's eyes lit up. This young man is smart indeed. As a soul engineer, the most important thing was to use his own advantages to attack his opponent's weaknesses. The rules of the tournament set by the Sun Moon Empire were already in favor of Soul Engineers. Taking advantage of them wisely was crucial. Lu Jun had evidently planned this out beforehand. After he jumped up, he used all his strength. In the process, the flying-type Soul Tool was already ready. When he jumped up, there was a single moment's pause. Wang Chua was fast, no doubt. However, no matter how fast she was, she had to cross a distance of 100 meters. When she reached him, Lu Jun was already 20 meters above the ground. This was already beyond Wang Chua's close combat radius. However, Wang Chua was no pushover, and she did not lack battle experience. She rushed forward, touched the ground, bent her knees, and in the next instant, everyone heard a boom from the ground. A hole about 2 meters wide appeared, and her body was like a golden cannon shell as it shot into the air after Lu Jun. She gripped her golden dragon spear. With her speed, it would not be difficult for her to catch up to him. At this moment, one could clearly see the counter-strategy the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy had prepared for Wang Chua. As he noticed that Wang Chua was about to catch up, Lu Jun, who was in mid-air, activated his invincible barrier. When Wang Chua went up against the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, she was able to score victory after victory. However, in her fight against Ding Xiaobu, she was bogged down. This served as an inspiration for the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy. If not for Ding Xiaobu's cowardice, he would definitely have been able to wear Wang Chua down. Wang Chua's face was cold, and she caught up to Lu Jun in mid-air quickly. In terms of explosive speed, even a flying-type Soul Tool could not compare with her. Even a high-class flying-type Soul Tool needed time to charge up and release its power. However, Wang Chua's body had no such needs. Lu Jun was very calm. He even smiled at Wang Chua, who was approaching him, behaving as gentlemanly as he could. Wang Chua's face was emotionless. In the next instant, she reached Lu Jun's altitude. While he looked on in shock, she did not attack his invincible barrier. After she passed him, she instead landed on Lu Jun's invincible barrier with 1 foot, directly on his head. Who knew that Wang Chua would use this method to counter Lu Jun's counter-strategy? The round right now looked extremely weird to everyone. Lu Jun was using his flying-type Soul Tool and carrying Wang Chua higher into the sky. After a moment of shock, Lu Jun started to react. He tried to shake his body as he sought to throw Wang Chua off as fast as he could. However, just as he was about to use his strength, a powerful energy came from the top of his head. The flying-type Soul Tool behind his back started to whine louder and louder, and he found that could no longer ascend any higher into the sky. The invincible barrier was not all-purpose. It could prevent its user from being struck, but it could not let him do whatever he wanted. At this moment, Wang Chua was like a proud, golden statue as she stood on top of the invincible barrier. She suddenly exerted a powerful pressure that Lu Jun's Class 6 flying-type Soul Tool could no longer take. His body stopped its upward flight, and then, it started to drop down. Lu Jun tried to change his direction of flight. However, he was helpless in face of the immense pressure from above. If he tried to continue upward, he would be forced back to the ground by Wang Chua. Flying horizontally was out of the question too. His well-designed plan had been ruined by his opponent. Lu Jun, who had been brimming with confidence a moment ago, started to sweat. The invincible barrier had a time limit. Furthermore, he had used a rather ordinary invincible barrier, which could only last for around 7 seconds. From his perspective, he had 7 seconds of buffer time, which was enough for him to escape her pursuit. Then, he could exert pressure on Wang Chua until he beat her. Who knew that Wang Chua would start off using this method to fight him? Lu Jun was an elite from the Radiant City Soul Engineering Academy. He flipped his hands, and 2 soul cannons appeared on his shoulders. This time, he had no choice but to go on the offensive. The 2 rapid-fire soul cannons on his hand started to pound Wang Chua. Golden scales instantly covered her entire body, and a golden dragon started to swirl around Wang Chua. She released her golden dragon body. The rapid-fire soul cannon's main strength lay in how fast it could shoot. It was able to cover a wide area, or lay down suppressive fire on a particular foe. Each of its shots was about the size of an egg. However, when they landed on Wang Chua's body, it was like they had hit a steel wall. There was no way they were hurting her at all. In the absence of soul tools, Wang Chua's defenses were no weaker than a defensive-type soul master. Many people had forgotten about this, including Huo Yuhao. This was because her offensive powers were too strong and too eye-catching. Wang Qiu's golden dragon spear shone with layers of golden light as it blocked many of the shots that were fired at her. The remaining ones that hit her were unable to hurt her. At the same time, Wang Qiu applied force to her legs as she exerted even more pressure downward. Lu Jun wanted to use his flying-type soul tool to control his descent, and hence, he had to expend soul power. While he was naturally gifted and able to make Class 6 soul tools, he was still just a 5-ring soul king. He could not use his Class 6 soul tools while experiencing such a depletion in his soul power. A thought flashed past Lu Jun's mind, and he immediately stopped firing. He retrieved an odd-looking soul tool from his storage-type soul tool. This appeared to be a soul tool that resembled a basin, and the bottom of this basin-like soul tool was rather thick. The sides of the basin arched up and curved outward. Lu Jun tore his shirt open to reveal a tight-fitting singlet underneath. His singlet was filled with different types of metal. No one knew how he did it, but the black basin suddenly attached itself to his chest. With that, a ray of white lightning shot out from his chest. It teleported him at the speed of lightning through the air. This explosive power was strong indeed. When it was released, a layer of armor covered Lu Jun's body. Furthermore, he still had his invincible barrier, which buffered him against the shockwave in mid-air. While Wang Qiu was able to stand in a stable fashion before, she was sent flying at this moment. Lu Jun's speed was too fast, and he smashed forcefully against the protective barrier around the arena. However, if not for this shocking energy, there was no way he could have escaped Wang Qiu just now. There was a loud bang as Wang Qiu landed on the ground. With the energy she had just released, she caused dust and dirt to fly about the moment she hit the ground. The hearts of the officials organizing the competition skipped a beat. Why is it that whenever this girl appears, the arena is quickly damaged? We need to reinforce it, again. Lu Jun was sent into a daze too. However, as his body bounced back, he had already removed his invincible barrier. While he still had about a second of it left, he did not want to waste any more soul power on it. At this moment, his shirt was already drenched in cold sweat. When he was spectating, he had thought that everyone who Wang Qiu defeated simply did not do enough. However, now that he was the one facing the top female competitor in the tournament, he understood the immense pressure they were under. He finally understood why Ding Xiaobu admitted defeat, just as Wang Qiu was about to use her 6th soul skill. What immense pressure he must have faced. While he was rattled, he did not dare to slow down. As his flying-type soul tool was protected by the invincible barrier, it was not destroyed. At this moment, he hurriedly used it to gain altitude again. The only thing he should be doing was creating distance. However, at this moment, Lu Jun suddenly felt his body turn cold. This was because he saw that Wang Qiu, who was stuck in the ground thanks to the force of her impact, was staring at him coldly. Her hand made a throwing motion. The long and sharp golden dragon spear was sent flying straight for him. Lu Jun inhaled to calm himself before he acted. On his back and chest, a ray of light started to shine instantly. The light behind his back pushed him forward, and then he adjusted the wings of his flying-type soul tool. This caused him to fly diagonally upward, as if he were a plane taking off. The light in front of his chest started to shine even brighter. It came from the basin-like soul tool, which he had previously used to escape Wang Qiu's control. The ray of light went straight for her. This time, everyone could clearly see that it was a ray of white electric light about as thick as a pail. It was charged with electricity and extremely fast. However, it was constrained by distance, and could only reach a target 10 meters ahead of him. Lu Jun's mastery of distance was perfect. He only unleashed this light when he was in front of Wang Qiu. Boom! The ground shook. This was because the ground of the arena was covered with huge metal plates. When the thick electric light hit it, snake-like jolts of electricity spread everywhere, even out to the edge of the arena. Lu Jun also used this powerful energy to bounce back into the sky. This video will end here.